Okay, it's working. Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you to Proz.com for giving me this opportunity to reflect on what makes our work as translators so uniquely human. My name is Andrea Pisera. I have been a professional translator for over 15 years. Throughout my career, I have contributed to Proz Pro Bono, Translators Without Borders, TED, and Wikipedia, where I actively participate in the Wiki Project Med, a collaboration I was invited by to join by Shinti Chathurika from the Open Language Initiative. That's another organization I contribute with my translation as a translator. I'm truly delighted to be here today, invited by Jared Tabor from the Proz board to take part in the Given Tuesday event. For this occasion, I want to discuss and to focus on something that may seem simple at first glance, words. Specifically, I will explore ambiguity, the indispensable role of context when words alone for short, and why human thought continues to make all the difference. Beyond that, I want to emphasize the crucial responsibility we carry as professionals in conducting research. The careful investigation that resolves uncertainty and enriches meaning and in localization, ensuring that our choices are not only accurate but deeply informed. I recently published a little note for Translators Day 2025 on media and on LinkedIn specifically, which I like to start with. I share a cartoon featuring the phrase "te sirvo" in español in Spanish. This is the cartoon. I hope you can see it. In this cartoon, te sirvo in Spanish can mean either. On the surface, it looks like a simple question, te sirvo in Spanish, but as translators, we immediately recognize the multiple featuring layers beneath it. In Spanish, te sirvo can mean either do I serve you, or am I good for you, or do you want me to pour you some? Referring in the cartoon to a soda. The humor comes from the misunderstanding, but for translators, it is a reminder of the daily challenge we face. Why translator beyond words? Why this matter? The cartoon encapsulates a truth we live every day. Translation is never just about words. It is about context, cultural nuance, and localization. Consider these points. Ambiguity, one phrase, multiple meanings. We need to understand not only the words, but the intent. Cultural context. What might make perfect sense in one language can be confusing or even offensive in another language. Specifically, we're talking about items, right? Localization, humor, nuance, and intent must survive across languages. Research and insight. Every translation involves careful investigation, the process that resolves uncertainty, clarifies intent, and enriches meaning. It ensures that our choices are not only accurate, but also deeply informed and culturally resonant. In my publication, I wrote, besides this cartoon, I wrote what looks like a simple word-for-word task is actually a constant process of choosing the right meaning in the right moment. The choice is where the skill and sometimes the art of translation comes into play. We are not just moving words, we are moving meaning across cultures. The sirvo. Let's go back to the cartoon. Imagine you are translating it for an English-speaking audience. If you translate literally, you might get, do I serve you? Shall I pour you some? But both are correct linguistically, but only one preserves the humor and intention in context. And even beyond that, a translator must consider, will the English reader understand the playing on words? Do we need to adapt the joke culturally? This is why translators are cultural interpreters, not just word movers. The soda becomes a metaphor. Sometimes a soda is just a soda, and sometimes it's a perfect example of the delicate work we do every day. But the sirvo is just the beginning. Let me share with you more examples from my own translation experience that illustrate how context determines meaning and how we easily things can go wrong without careful analysis. When context changes everything. Let's start with a medical example, a medical translation. Through my work, I encountered the term cold in a medical context. In English, cold can mean the common cold, a viral infection, low temperature, lack of warmth or emotion. In Spanish, we must choose between resfriado, resfrió, frío, low temperature, or frío emocional, lack of warmth or emotion, or an emotionless person, una persona fría. Each entirely different. A machine might default to the most common translation, but a human translator asks, what is the medical condition being described? What is the patient experiencing? What will the health provider understand? This isn't just about accuracy. It is about a patient's safety. And the wrong choice could lead to misdiagnosis or improper treatment. A legal document, this is another example. I once translated a contract where the English phrase, at your convenience, appeared. Literally translated to Spanish as a su conveniencia. It sounds formal and appropriate, but in the legal context of that particular document, it actually needed to mean within a reasonable time frame, which requires a completely different Spanish construction, en un plazo razonable. A word-for-word translation would have been legally ambiguous and potentially problematic. Context revealed the true intent. Now, a cultural items. Let's jump to the third example, a cultural items. Consider the English example, break a leg. Wishing someone good luck before a performance. Translated literally into Spanish as rompete una pierna. It sounds like a curse or threat, right? A human translator recognizes this as an item and localizes it to mucha suerte, suerte, buena suerte, depending on the register and context. These examples show that our work requires, first of all, critical thinking, questioning what seems obvious, the cold, cultural awareness, understanding what resonates in each language, and professional judgment, making informed decisions that serve the text purpose. These topics take us to the difference between human translator, a human translator, and machine translation. This is the core of my talk, to differentiate both and our role, our crucial role. And take me to a broader point. In an age of AI and machine translation, human translators are essential precisely because of ambiguity. Machines excel at literal word-for-word translation, but often fail to catch the cultural, contextual, or humorous nuances. For example, Google Translate might render te sirvo or do I serve you technically correct, but missing the double meaning that makes the cartoon funny. Similarly, it was a struggle with cold in a medical context, at your convenience in legal language, or break a leg as an item. Human translators constantly ask, what is the intended effect on the reader? What cultural references matter? How can I preserve humor, tone, and subtlety? This is why our work is creative, analytical, and deeply human. I want to spend a moment on something that often happens behind the scenes, but is absolutely crucial to quality translation: the research process. When I mentioned that research resolves uncertainty and enriches meaning, I wasn't just speaking philosophically. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. The research toolkit. Every professional translator develops a research methodology. Mine includes terminology databases, Proz.com, specialized glossaries for medical, legal, and technical fields, parallel texts, reading documents in both languages to see how experts in the field communicate, and even compare those with a third language, how this is translated. It's translated in another language. Subject matter consultation. When translating medical context for Wikipedia and Translators Without Borders, for example, I don't just translate. I verify the scientific accuracy by consulting medical databases like PubMed. That's a really good one. Cultural research. Understanding not just words, what words mean, but how they are used in real context. A human element in research. Our human element. We are the human element on this. This is another area where human translators excel over machines. I can access databases, but it cannot evaluate the reliability of sources, understand when terminology has evolved, recognize when context requires deviation from standard terms, apply professional judgment about what is appropriate for a specific audience. Research is not just about finding answers. It is about asking the right questions in the first place. From my experience and reflected in my Translators Day 2025 publication, I would like to highlight 4 practical takeaways for professional translators. First of all, always ask questions. Never assume words alone carry meaning. Ask yourself, what is the intent? Who is the audience? Context is king. Read beyond the sentence. Research, observe, compare, and understand the cultural references. Embrace localization. Every time, always you need to adapt a phrase to preserve the effect, not just the literal meaning. Research is essential. Investigate and explore terminology, verify sources, verify facts, consult reliable sources, and dig deeper into subject matter. Careful research resolves uncertainty and enriches meaning. Every translator, every translation benefits from careful investigation. Research deepens understanding. It resolves ambiguity and allows us to make informed decisions that go beyond surface meaning. Research is what turns uncertainty into clarity and ensures precision. Humor, idioms, and metaphors are not obstacles. They are opportunities to show the value of human translation. Why it matters, why the sirvo matters. In the end, the sirvo is more than a soda joke. It's a getaway into understanding the depth and complexity of our profession. From medical terminology that affects patient care, to legal language that shapes agreements, to cultural items that carry the weight of tradition. Every translation challenge we have discussed today reinforces the same truth. Our work goes beyond vocabulary. We are cultural navigators, context detectives, meaning interpreters, and dedicated researchers. We ask questions that machines don't know to ask. We understand nuances that algorithms cannot grasp. We take responsibility for choices that affect real people in real situations. Every day, we face phrases with multiple layers. Every day, we conduct research that transforms uncertainty into clarity. Every day, we make choices that determine how a text is understood, appreciated, trusted, and even laughed at. Through pro bono work, professional projects, and every translation in between, we contribute to a world where language builds bridges instead of barriers, where meaning transcends borders and understanding becomes possible across cultures. So yes, sometimes a soda is just a soda, but in our hands, it can also tell a story about the complexity, creativity, responsibility, and profound importance of human translation. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining me and inviting me. And I hope this presentation has given you some food for thought or perhaps something to drink. Bye-bye.